be a vast expanse of blue, serene and unchanging. But beneath its surface lies a world where the forces of nature dictate unbreakable rules, and life adapts to extreme, unpredictable and often unforgiving conditions. Although its immensity is familiar, this ocean is a wild territory where only the most resilient, the most cunning and the most flexible survive. The Pacific covers almost half of the Earth's surface, stretching from the Arctic to Antarctica, bordering continents and archipelagos with rugged coastlines, hidden reefs and unfathomable abysses. Its average depth exceeds 4,000 meters, and in its depths lies the deepest point on the planet, the Mariana Trench. Its waters are intertwined with ecosystems that allow the coexistence of species that are rarely found in other seas. From enormous marine mammals to tiny bioluminescent fish, they all share the same destiny: adapt or disappear. Great white sharks that dominate the water column with devastating attacks and jaws capable of tearing flesh and bone. Manta rays that glide like silent shadows in the deep blue. Sea lions that patrol the coasts with a mixture of stealth and strength. And tiny, strange creatures like the seahorse, which, against all odds, is one of the few marine animals where the male carries and protects the young, enduring among reefs lashed by relentless currents. Each one, with their lethal strategy or their tenacious resistance, sustains the relentless dynamics of this vast ocean. Powerful currents, sudden storms, and natural cycles mark a rigorous rhythm. Fishing, migration, and reproduction depend on this dynamic, which allows for no errors or pauses. Here, every move can mean life or death, survival or extinction. Welcome to the Pacific, where life survives to the rhythm of a relentless ocean. In these waters, where survival depends on speed, strength, and cunning, one of the ocean's oldest and deadliest predators reigns: the great white shark. Capable of swimming at speeds of up to 40 kilometers per hour in full attack, its body is designed for hunting. Their teeth, arranged in multiple rows, are a perfect machine of sharpness and continuous replacement. They are not simple cutting pieces. Each tooth is triangular in shape with serrated edges, like tiny saws capable of tearing flesh and breaking bones. In a split second. These sharp, robust teeth are constantly renewed throughout its life, ensuring that the great white shark always maintains its lethal ability to tear prey apart with brutal precision. Although its eyes are located on the sides of its head, this isn't a disadvantage at all. The great white shark has almost panoramic vision and a nictitating membrane that covers and protects its eyes at the exact moment of attack. Its long, rigid pectoral fins provide stability when moving at high speed, while the dorsal fin acts as a rudder and stabilizer during sudden changes in direction. In the dim water, the shark moves with a calculated, almost imperceptible slowness. It advances from the depths, its senses alert to every vibration and shadow around it. Nearby, a fish swims with apparent nonchalance, exploring the nearby reefs in search of food. Patiently, the shark watches her movements, measuring every small gesture, searching for the precise moment. Its organs pick up barely perceptible signals, the faint pulse hidden beneath the sand that no one else can detect. The wait is tense, the decisive moment still distant but inevitable. Then, with a brutal and swift impulse, the shark launches its attack from below, emerging as a fleeting shadow against the silhouette of the fish. The speed and precision are relentless. The fish barely has time to react. A quick turn, a flick of its sharp jaws, and silence once again reigns in the depths as the predator retreats, leaving only the trace of a brief, lethal battle. But even an animal of this size faces dangers. Orcas are among its main predators, capable of taking down adult great white sharks. In deep waters, giant squid have also left battle scars on their bodies, with suction cups capable of tearing through their thick skin. Additionally, internal parasites and fungi in their gills can weaken them. The great white shark also has its own life cycle. During the mating season, encounters are brief and violent. After fertilizing the female, the sharks do not maintain social bonds. The pups are born fully developed and must fend for themselves from the very beginning. The mother does not remain with them. and like other solitary predators, their offspring begin their lives in complete isolation. This early independence is due to the shark's nomadic and aggressive nature, which cannot afford prolonged carrying or parental care. Unlike species like whales, whose young require years of learning and protection to survive in the complexity of the ocean, they can reach 6 meters in length and weigh over 1,100 kilograms. They live for around 70 years, although only a few individuals manage to reach that age in such competitive waters. Boasting an anatomy that has barely changed in the past 11 million years, this hunter maintains its place at the top of the ocean thanks to a combination of power, speed, and unique sensory perception. On certain rocky Pacific coasts, when the tide rises and the elongated shadows of seals glide near the surface, the great white shark waits silently. From the depths, it slowly raises its body, almost motionless, and measures every movement of its prey. The seal, completely unaware of the danger, stops to take a breath in a clearing of murky water, unaware of what lurks below. When the shark's muscles are activated, it surges upwards with precise force in a split second. The power of the impact is such that the shark bursts completely out of the water in a brief but lethal leap. Known as vertical ambush, this technique minimizes the possibility of error and prevents prey from noticing your arrival until it is too late. Part of its effectiveness lies in a unique quality among fish. The white shark is able to raise the temperature of the muscles involved in swimming and in the functioning of vital organs, thanks to a system of blood vessels called the rete mirabile. This allows it to retain agility and power even in cold waters where other predators diminish its performance. In an ocean where strength and cunning define survival, the great white shark represents the perfect combination of raw power and ancient adaptation, although its reign also depends on delicate balances with other life forms. Despite its reputation as a supreme hunter, even the great white shark relies on tiny allies to stay fit. In the warm waters of the Pacific, unlikely relationships define survival. The cleaner lip maintains a tacit pact with the ocean's most feared predators. These small fish establish cleaning stations where sharks, groupers, and rays come for relief. Showing no fear, the cleaners enter the shark's open mouth and travel along its gills, feeding on parasites and organic debris. The predator tolerates their presence, aware that this exchange improves its health and prevents infections, such as fungal infections. In an environment where any weakness can become fatal, keeping the body in optimal condition is not a luxury, but a necessity. It is a silent agreement forged by necessity and instinct that has been repeated for millions of years in the depths of the Pacific. These fish eliminate parasites, consume dead tissue, and clean the mucus that coats their hosts. Their constant work improves the health of those who stop at the cleaning stations, reducing parasitic loads and preventing infections. In return, the lip licker gets secure food and the protection that comes from staying with larger creatures. Although most predatory fish tolerate and actively seek the help of cleaners, there are exceptions. Some individuals may show aggression towards lip lickers, especially if they feel threatened or if the interaction does not follow the expected behavior. However, such incidents are rare, and this is because the cleaners have developed specific signals, such as dance movements, to indicate their peaceful intention and avoid misunderstandings. When a shark resists cleaning, it can suffer negative consequences. The accumulation of parasites and dead tissue can lead to decreased swimming efficiency and, in extreme cases, death. Therefore, most species have evolved to accept and actively seek the help of cleaners, recognizing the vital benefits they offer. Interestingly, predators rarely prey on these small fish. The symbiotic relationship has led to a kind of tacit immunity, where cleaner fish are recognized and respected for their essential role in the marine ecosystem. This tolerance highlights the complexity and interdependence of relationships in the ocean, where even the most fearsome predators depend on much smaller creatures for their well-being. And in those same ecosystems, hidden among the rocks and crevices, lives another specialist in circumventing the rules, the octopus. With its soft body and suction pad-covered tentacles, it has turned adaptability into its greatest asset. Able to cling to rocks, wrap around prey, or squeeze through impossible crevices, this animal hides unique characteristics that make it an anomaly within the animal kingdom. Beyond its flexible anatomy, it has a neurological structure that completely distinguishes it not only from marine species, but also from terrestrial ones. Each of its 8 tentacles has nerve ganglia that function almost like independent brains, capable of making decisions without needing to consult the main center. This makes it undoubtedly one of the most intelligent animals in the ocean, capable of solving problems, memorizing escape routes, and manipulating objects with unusual precision for an invertebrate. However, evolution grants, but it also takes away. Its body lacks armor, spines, or any defensive elements. It is soft and vulnerable and therefore must always remain alert to predators. Moray eels, groupers, and reef sharks are among its main threats. When attacked, the octopus expels a dense cloud of ink that momentarily blurs its pursuer's vision and blocks its sense of smell. At that moment, it retreats among the corals, its skin changing color and texture to completely blend in with its surroundings. Most of its hunters lack the acuity to distinguish it once it's camouflaged, and that strategy is usually sufficient. But it doesn't just change the color. It raises tiny dermal papillae that transform the texture of your skin, imitating the roughness of corals and stones. This 3-dimensional camouflage is not the result of a conscious decision, but rather the result of millions of years of adaptation. Pigment cells called chromatophores, along with reflective structures in their tissue, activate in response to the environment, obscuring the animal from the view of predators and prey. Even so, their existence is short. Most species barely survive a year, although some manage to stretch it to 3. By then, their bodies show clear signs of wear, reflexes dull, suckers weaken, and their skin takes on a dull appearance. After mating, both males and females go through a final stage known as senescence. In females, it begins once they have protected their eggs. In males, it begins shortly after copulation. During this period, their tissues deteriorate, they lose reflexes, they stop feeding, and they adopt erratic behavior. It is a rapid, inevitable decline, closing a brief but extraordinary cycle on the ocean floor. The female lays thousands of tiny eggs attached to a rock or protected cave. She cares for them tirelessly, cleaning and oxygenating them with delicate movements until they hatch. During this period, she does not feed and in most cases dies shortly after the birth of the young. The male, for his part, disappears shortly after mating, completing a brief and functional cycle. The seabed is home to many life forms that have chosen different paths to survive. Some, like the octopus, rely on intelligence and camouflage, but others, even within their own family, have developed radically different sizes and strategies. For more than 500 million years, cephalopods have perfected ways of life that defy marine logic. Within this ancestral lineage, squid occupy a special place. Although they share a common past with octopuses, they are not advanced versions of them, but rather different branches of the same root, which long ago chose their own evolutionary paths. Squids developed more streamlined bodies, lateral fins, and a body structure that allows them to navigate with brutal agility in open waters, where octopuses preferred narrow shelters and rocky bottoms. This difference is also reflected in their nature. The squid is an aggressive and efficient hunter equipped with 10 tentacles, 2 of which are elongated and specialized for capturing prey from a distance. At the center of this display lies a sharp beak, capable of cutting through tough tissue, even in animals much larger than itself. Its eyes, considered among the most developed in the entire animal kingdom, rival those of any vertebrate in size and detection capacity. In giant species, they can reach up to 40 centimeters in diameter, and their structure is designed to capture even the faintest light variation in the abyssal depths, where light is practically non-existent. Unlike other cephalopods and fish, squid eyes have a retina specially adapted to detect bioluminescence, fleeting flashes of tiny organisms, signs of prey, or warnings of predators hidden in the darkness. They are able to distinguish these tiny glimmering lights from more than 200 meters away in complete darkness, which is vital in environments where vision determines survival. Furthermore, unlike most marine animals, their eyeball lacks a blind spot. The arrangement of nerve fibers prevents interruptions in the visual field, allowing them to continuously perceive their surroundings, even in extreme conditions. This quality is crucial when it comes to locating schools of fish, detecting a lurking sperm whale, or following the movements of other squid in the darkness of the abyss. For centuries, giant squid have left marks of their battles on the bodies of great white sharks and sperm whales. Circular scars, caused by jagged suction cups, tell stories of confrontations where both combatants end up injured. Although not always successful, the squid possesses an attack strategy that combines speed, ink, and precision. It can launch a dense cloud to disorient and escape, or attach itself to its victim and wrap it in a tangle of tentacles, immobilizing it while it tears at its flesh. Although their main weapon is the strength of their tentacles and their propulsive speed, certain squids have an additional ability. They are able to modify the color and texture of their skin using tiny pigment cells. This ability allows them to hide among the shadows of the ocean floor and at the same time disorient their attackers. In deep-sea species, they are capable of generating flashes of bioluminescent light, creating irregular pulses on their bodies and tentacles. This resource serves both to confuse their hunters and to attract prey in the absolute darkness of the ocean. Despite their fearsome reputation, these creatures don't have a long lifespan. On average, squid live between 1 and 5 years, depending on the species. But in that short time, they reach surprising sizes. Some specimens exceed 14 meters in total length, including extended tentacles, although their central body rarely exceeds 5 meters. They move using jet propulsion, expelling water through a siphon, which allows them to reach speeds of up to 40 kilometers per hour in short stretches. This escape method is as effective as their offense, and in the Pacific Ocean they can be found at depths of 200 to 1,000 meters, where sunlight no longer reaches and other predators are less prevalent. Evolution has provided them with these resources over hundreds of millions of years since their earliest cephalopod ancestors in the Paleozoic, making them one of the most successful and dangerous invertebrate predators in the oceans. But not every survival strategy depends on individual strength. In the depths of the Pacific, safety is also found in unity, in the synchronized movement of thousands of bodies moving as one. The large schools of fish that roam the deep waters are one of the most impressive collective phenomena the ocean has to offer. In particular, the horse mackerel, a fish that forms tight schools where thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, move with a synchronicity that defies individual logic. These coordinated movements are the product of millions of years of evolution, during which the need to survive against voracious predators like tuna and sharks has shaped behavior that borders on the instinctive and the collective. The horse mackerel functions as a hive mind, where each individual responds in fractions of a second to the movements of its immediate neighbor, without a central direction imposing order. Its small but efficient brain integrates visual and sensory signals to maintain the cohesion of the bank, reacting quickly to any changes in the environment. This process relies on a sensory system called the lateral line, which detects vibrations and movements in the water, allowing each fish to synchronize its swimming with millimeter precision. This strategy functions as a passive defense and at the same time as a dynamic system that confuses the predator by making it difficult to select a specific prey. Their diet is based on plankton, small fish, and crustaceans, which keeps them constantly moving in search of nutrient-rich areas. Schooling is especially active in the presence of threats or during migrations, driven by the search for resources and changes in the weather. At these times, cohesion is crucial. Although they don't always manage to evade their hunters, this tactic significantly increases their chances of survival. A school of fish can be composed of up to 50,000 individuals, a multitude that seems to move as a single organism. Their lifespan is around 15 years, a cycle in which mass reproduction ensures the continuity of the group. Among its most distinctive features is its ability to alter the direction of the school in milliseconds, a maneuver that baffles even the most skilled predators. The schools are, in essence, a demonstration of how strength and intelligence can manifest in unity, a collective phenomenon that reveals without words the very pulse of the ocean. But while the horse mackerel has perhaps developed one of the most sophisticated strategies in the marine world, there is one predator that is impossible to avoid. A colossus that traverses these waters with relentless authority. The blue whale, with its size, strength, and presence, sets a distinct rhythm in this timeless tale of marine survival. Although its silhouette alone commands respect, its true skill appears when it comes to feeding. The blue whale doesn't need speed or ambushes. Its method is simple, devastating, and effective. It opens its mouth, which can be more than 4 meters wide, and advances among the schools of whales. Everything that crosses its path ends up trapped in a cavity capable of holding up to 80,000 liters of water at a time. But its hunting isn't an act of carelessness. Although its movement seems clumsy, its immense body, up to 30 meters long, acts with surgical precision. The whale only attacks schools of krill or small fish that are worth the effort. Despite its size, it avoids species that are too large or bodies that are difficult to digest. He is an opportunistic hunter, but not indiscriminate. When a blue whale is feeding, its heart beats as slowly as 8 to 10 times per minute, and during a deep hunting dive, it can drop to just 2 beats per minute. This allows it to conserve oxygen while it dives in search of food. Its anatomy is unusual. Unlike fish, it breathes air and must surface every 15 minutes, although it can survive for more than 20 minutes if the occasion demands. Its body emerges, expelling a column of steam that betrays its presence for miles. Without gills, it depends on this constant cycle of rise and fall. Inside its mouth, instead of teeth, it has keratin barbs, long, flexible plates that hang from its upper jaw. These filters retain prey while the water is expelled through the tongue. This adaptation, as strange as it is effective, prevents the risk of accidentally swallowing hard or dangerous objects. Its fins can measure up to 5 meters, and its tail, the largest of any animal that has ever lived on this planet, propels it forward with a force capable of moving tens of tons with a single stroke. There is no predator stalking it, and its only real enemy is scarcity. Each individual can live more than 80 years, and despite their enormous size, their habits follow an ancestral cycle of migration and feeding that has barely changed in millions of years. But even though the blue whale has reached colossal dimensions and an anatomy designed to filter everything in its path, there is one predator that even it cannot underestimate: the orca. In the open waters of the Pacific, the orca is much more than an opportunistic hunter. It's the ocean's apex predator. Its elegant appearance and two-tone skin, black as the depths and white as the foam that breaks against the rocky shores, barely hint at its true nature. It has an extraordinary social structure organized into pods that can number from a few orcas to more than a dozen. Each group establishes its own hunting techniques, passed down from generation to generation, as if it were a marine culture. Unlike whales, which are filter feeders, the orca is a meticulous and calculating predator. It can hunt small prey like salmon, squid, or seals, but it doesn't hesitate to coordinate attacks on prey of its own size. In the vastness of the ocean, a group of orcas stalks with calculated precision. Among the waves, a blue whale calf swims close to its mother, still vulnerable in her early years of life. The orcas emerge silently, moving in formation to surround the pair. Unhurriedly, they stand in the path of the calf, blocking any attempt to escape. The mother lets out a warning call, her powerful body pounding the water to ward off her attackers, but the orcas respond with swift lunges and dives that wear down her stamina. The minutes drag on in a tense dance where the calf's every move is watched, and the mother's every reaction is countered with fierce agility. Gradually, fatigue begins to take its toll on the mother, her movements becoming less determined, while the orcas maintain constant pressure. Finally, in a decisive moment, they manage to separate the small whale. The calf, isolated and exhausted, is at the mercy of the group of orcas. The inevitable outcome approaches as the ocean listens in silence. This perfect mastery of hunting reflects an evolution that has placed the orca on a higher level than the whale. Its brain, one of the most developed in the animal kingdom with a complex network of convolutions, allows it to memorize migratory routes, plan attacks, and establish lifelong social bonds. Furthermore, their acoustic communication system is a marvel of evolution. Each pack develops its own unique sound repertoire, with a series of calls, whistles, and clicks that function as a unique and unmistakable language. These sounds serve to coordinate hunting and maintain group cohesion, while also reflecting emotions, states of alertness, and even individual identity. In some ways, each orca is recognized by its voice. and the variations in these acoustic patterns are so subtle and complex that scientists compare them to human dialects. This system allows them to stay connected in the vast expanse of the ocean and survive thanks to communication that transcends the basics to become a true underwater social network. Anatomically, the orca can reach up to 9 meters in length, considerably less than the blue whale, but its compact and muscular body allows it to perform maneuvers impossible for a larger animal. Reproductively, orcas have one of the longest gestations in the ocean, 17 months. And just like in their social structure, it is the entire pack that protects and raises the newborn calf. It is not unusual for several adult orcas to work together to defend the newborn from sharks or even rival pods. One of their most astonishing hunting strategies is the one they deploy in shallow waters, where they ram icebergs to knock down seals or create synchronized waves that deprive sea lions sheltering on coastal rocks from their refuge. This ability to hunt as a team, with planned techniques adapted to each environment, is unmatched throughout the marine kingdom. In their world, brute force gives way to organized intelligence. And while few creatures can escape the voracity of the blue whale, none survive an orca that has decided to hunt. In the vast expanses of the Pacific, a tireless traveler soars through the skies with astonishing consistency, the Arctic tern. This small bird undertakes one of the longest and most demanding migrations in the animal kingdom, crossing thousands of kilometers over the open ocean, from its breeding grounds on the icy shores of the Arctic to the temperate waters of the South Pacific, a journey that can exceed 20,000 kilometers round trip. During these long journeys, the tern remains in flight for days without stopping, relying on air currents to save energy. Its body is adapted for this prolonged effort. Narrow, pointed wings that cut through the wind with precision, and an efficient metabolism that allows it to resist fatigue. But it's not just a matter of physics. This bird's orientation is a mystery that fascinates scientists and observers alike. They use a combination of Earth's magnetic signals, the position of the sun and stars, and visual reference points, a natural compass that never fails, guiding them with astonishing accuracy to their destination. The reason behind such sacrifice is clear and vital: the survival of their species. These colossal journeys are primarily in search of food and suitable environmental conditions for reproduction. On the icy shores of the Arctic during the northern summer, fish and small crustaceans abound, providing sustenance to the swallow and its young. However, with the arrival of winter, conditions become inhospitable and food becomes scarce, prompting these birds to return to warmer waters, where they take refuge and recover until the next breeding season. Despite their amazing adaptations, not all swallows manage to complete this epic journey. During the journey, they face numerous dangers: unexpected storms, extreme exhaustion, predators in the air, and even the constant threat of dehydration. Unlike many seabirds, these swallows do not perch on the water to rest or drink, but continue to hover at the surface, catching insects and small fish in flight for food. Those who fail to withstand these adverse conditions often succumb, leaving way for new generations to inherit this odyssey. The numbers are also surprising. It's common for thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, to undertake this migration together, forming moving clouds that stretch across the sky, synchronized in a rhythm that seems choreographed by nature itself. Cooperation and social interaction during these flights are essential to maintaining cohesion and increasing the likelihood of success. Upon reaching their destinations, these birds begin the most crucial phase of their life cycle: reproduction. In dense colonies on cliffs and rocky beaches, pairs build nests with seaweed and small materials, preparing the ground for their eggs. The chicks are born vulnerable, covered only by down to protect them from the cold. Their parents' dedication is absolute. They take turns incubating the eggs and foraging for food, bringing back fresh fish to feed their young. The sight of these little ones taking their first wings under the constant watch of their parents is the culmination of a year of effort and resilience. This endless cycle, filled with challenges and triumphs, reveals the delicate balance that sustains life in the Pacific. The Arctic tern not only survives its journey, but perpetuates the existence of its species in an environment where every ounce of energy and every decision can mean the difference between life and death. Thus, as the ocean stretches endlessly beneath their wings, they paint a story of resilience, adaptation, and hope in the air. Along the rugged and fragmented North Pacific coast, bald eagles find refuge in the most unusual places. They build their nests high in the pines overlooking the cliffs, but also on bluffs exposed to wind and salt spray. No matter how precarious the location, if it offers a good view and some protection for its young, it is enough. Here, survival is measured by opportunity, not comfort. Their nests, enormous structures made of branches and dried seaweed, can reach more than 2 meters in width and support a weight of over 400 kilos. These birds have perfected their hunting habits over generations. They take advantage of the abundance of fish the ocean offers, planning their attacks from above and descending precisely to the surface. Salmon, herring, and flatfish are part of their daily diet, and they do not hesitate to take advantage of stranded remains or unsuspecting prey in the shallow waters. Life by the sea, however, imposes its challenges. Strong coastal winds, feather-eroding salinity, and sudden downpours test the resilience of nests and the fortitude of newly hatched chicks. Pacific coastal populations have developed unique behaviors. Unlike their inland counterparts, these eagles depend almost entirely on marine resources. They have learned to read the tides, detect schools of fish by the movements of seagulls, and locate schools of fish by changes in the texture of the water. Its talons, adapted for grasping slippery prey, are wider and more robust than those of other raptors of its size, and its plumage offers some additional resistance to coastal humidity. Furthermore, these birds form lifelong pair bonds. Together, they defend their territory, rebuild their nest year after year, and take turns hunting and caring for their young. In these places where land and ocean meet, the bald eagle maintains an ancient relationship with water, an alliance forged long before borders or names on maps existed, sustained by instinct and necessity. While eagles are adept at dominating the skies, another animal has also adapted to marine life over millions of years. In the cold waters of the North Pacific, seals find their true home. Although its image is usually associated with stony beaches and rock platforms, its life largely takes place beneath the surface. Here, far from the coast, they carry out their routines, hunting, exploring, and diving in fast-paced pursuits, taking advantage of their bodies designed for immersion. They spend several hours a day diving, with dives that can last more than half an hour and descents of up to 400 meters in search of food. Their habits vary depending on the species and the season, but they all share the same need to balance their time in the water and on land, where they rest, reproduce, and care for their young. Their anatomy reveals a body in the midst of an evolutionary transition. Although their hydrodynamic appearance and modified hind limbs allow them to move freely underwater, they retain the traits of an animal still tied to land. Their front flippers lack the power and maneuverability of true marine mammals, such as dolphins, and their locomotion out of water is clumsy, forcing them to crawl on their bellies or propel themselves with lateral movements. Underwater, however, they move elegantly, using their entire bodies like a rippling ribbon. During the mating season, the behavior of males changes radically. They become aggressive and territorial, engaging in violent battles for control of the sandbanks where the females give birth and nurse their young. These disputes can leave deep wounds and tears in the thick skin of the opponents, who often bear the scars of past confrontations. Only the strongest manage to maintain a harem, protecting their small section of beach while deterring rivals. Found primarily along the North Pacific coast from California to Alaska, these seals form dense colonies where proximity to bodies becomes a defense strategy against predators and an opportunity to reproduce. In open waters, their diet consists of medium-sized fish, cephalopods, and crustaceans. Herring and sardines are their preferred prey, captured by lightning ambushes, taking advantage of their stealth capabilities. But beneath the sea, the threat lurks from the depths. Great white sharks and killer whales are their most formidable enemies, capable of detecting and pursuing them over long distances. In the event of an attack, a seal's only chance is to reach the surface or rocky areas where larger predators cannot follow. Its dense fur, covered with a layer of subcutaneous fat called blubber, provides thermal insulation in frigid waters, but it is still vulnerable to bites and tears. The relationship between the female and her young is brief but intense. Only one young is born per year after a gestation period of approximately 11 months. From day one, the mother must protect her from constant dangers, both on land and at sea. Fed with extremely high-fat milk, the calves gain disproportionate weight during the first few weeks until they reach the level of independence that will allow them to face the ocean. But not all of them succeed. It's not uncommon to see seals sliding or falling from coastal cliffs. The explanation lies in their clumsy nature on land, combined with overcrowding at colonies and the constant search for space or escape. Sometimes a hasty escape or a poorly calculated move ends in a violent fall onto rocks or into the sea, where the impact can be fatal or leave them seriously injured. A seal pup's childhood is a never-ending obstacle course. Before reaching maturity, it must navigate treacherous waves, storms, marine and land predators, hunger and disorientation. Among the most implacable enemies of its first stage are carrion birds, young sharks, and in some coastal areas, coyotes. Although not their usual prey, these opportunists take advantage of the opportunity when a weak, sick or abandoned calf is stranded. They scan the coast at dawn and dusk, moving among the rocks in search of vulnerable animals. And this is where another story begins. Because not all coastal predators dare to take on just any prey. There are limits set by instinct and size. While a coyote might dare to take on a defenseless calf, it would never attempt to approach an adult elephant seal. This difference in power and risk dictates who hunts and who must stay at a distance in this untamed stretch of the North Pacific. The elephant seal, named for the prominent fleshy structure that hangs over its snout, is the largest pinniped ever to inhabit these waters. Adult males can reach 6 meters in length and weigh more than 4 tons, doubling or even tripling the size of an adult female. The most striking feature of these animals is their elongated nose, an appendage that grows in adult males from the age of 6 and which reaches full development around the age of 8 or 10. Far from being a mere ornamental feature, this structure serves a vital function during the mating season. It allows them to modulate powerful bellows that resonate across the beaches, signaling their presence and dominance to potential rivals. During these weeks, the sandbanks become veritable battlefields. Alpha males guarding large groups of females defend their position through violent confrontations, where bodies collide, fangs tear, and blood stains the wet sand. Unlike seals, which divide their time between land and sea, elephant seals spend most of their existence in the open ocean, only returning to beaches to shed their skin, reproduce, or rest for short periods. On the high seas, they travel vast distances during their migrations, journeys that can exceed 20,000 kilometers per year. They are formidable swimmers, but their greatest skill lies in deep diving. They can descend to more than 1,500 meters in search of prey, remaining underwater for more than an hour. There, in absolute darkness, they locate squid, deep-sea fish, and other deep-sea organisms alien to the surface world. In this wild environment, no land predator can challenge an adult elephant seal. Even coyotes, opportunistic coastal dwellers, know their limits. While they dare to deal with abandoned seal pups, they will never attempt to approach a 4-ton behemoth. The difference in size, temperament, and strength establishes a natural boundary that neither hunger nor opportunity can cross. Thus, on the beaches of the North Pacific, seals, coyotes, and elephant seals coexist in a tense relationship dictated by ancestral instincts and invisible hierarchies, where each encounter can mean both life and death. Far from this coastal turmoil, beneath the surface that reflects the moving sky, the ocean is home to creatures whose vital rhythm seems oblivious to this constant struggle. In the temperate waters of the North Pacific, thousands of translucent forms move with the rhythm of the current. They are jellyfish, one of the oldest and most enigmatic organisms on the planet, whose existence dates back to before the dinosaurs. Without a brain, without a heart, and without a skeleton, this gelatinous being has perfected its way of life for more than 500 million years. Jellyfish perform a silent, seemingly wandering routine. They drift along on ocean currents, with limited ability to control their course, but with the ability to propel themselves forward through rhythmic contractions of their gelatinous bell. Their diet consists of tiny fish, crustaceans, eggs of other marine organisms, and plankton. They extend their tentacles, equipped with thousands of stinging cells, to paralyze their prey with a burst of venom. The tentacles then guide the prey to a mouth on the underside of its body, where it is slowly digested. Despite lacking a centralized nervous system, jellyfish possess a diffuse nervous system that allows them to detect changes in light, pressure, and water composition. They lack a complex nervous system, but their reactions are extraordinarily effective. Faced with a predator such as sea turtles, ocean sunfish, or some diving birds, they can rapidly contract their bodies and release toxins to defend themselves. Some species even activate bioluminescence while fleeing, generating flashes that disorient the attacker or attract larger predators capable of intervening in the pursuit. One of the most fascinating characteristics of some Pacific jellyfish is their ability, almost unique in the animal kingdom, to reverse their biological cycle. Under certain conditions of stress, injury, or aging, species such as Turritopsis dohrnii can transform their adult cells into juvenile cells, reverting to a primitive polyp state, starting life once again. This ability grants them a sort of biological immortality, although they remain vulnerable to disease and being eaten. Their luminescence, more common in deep-sea species but present in several species in the North Pacific, is produced by a chemical reaction involving proteins such as luciferin and enzymes that, when exposed to oxygen, generate flashes of blue or greenish light. This phenomenon is used for defense, communication, or to attract prey in dark areas. There are environmental factors that influence their proliferation. Jellyfish are especially attracted to warm water temperatures, a change that activates their gonads and encourages reproduction. Therefore, during the summer months, their populations can multiply massively and suddenly, increasing their presence in coastal areas. These outbreaks are common when warm currents coincide with an abundance of plankton, but their beauty comes at a price. Their long tentacles, often invisible to the naked eye, can reach several meters and are covered in thousands of microscopic venom-laden stingers. Some species cause little irritation, but others can cause severe burns, muscle paralysis, and even death in extreme cases. Contrary to what one might think of such a simple organism, jellyfish often move in large groups known as swarms or blooms. The reason for this behavior is not a matter of conscious communication, but rather of environmental synchronicity. Currents, temperature, and abundance of food drive thousands of individuals to the same areas. This behavior offers them certain advantages: greater success in capturing prey, and sometimes a slight collective protection from predators. Thus, floating adrift, displaced by the tides, jellyfish compose one of the strangest and oldest images of marine life, a swarm of translucent bodies that sparkle at the slightest touch and, from the depths to the surf, remind us that beneath the surface lies a world of ancient forms and behaviors that defy vertebrate logic. Creatures that have survived mass extinctions and, as the waters warm, will continue to extend their invisible tentacles in search of food and space. Although jellyfish float adrift almost weightless, there are creatures that have made them their essential food, developing remarkable adaptations to confront their poisonous tentacles. Two of the most unusual diners in this environment share this particular diet, although in very different ways: the ocean sunfish and the leatherback turtle. The ocean sunfish, also known as the mola, looks like an incomplete creature. Its flat, rounded body, taller than it is long, moves like a heavy disc through the currents. It can reach impressive sizes, easily exceeding 2 meters in diameter and weighing close to a ton. It is, in fact, one of the largest bony fish on the planet. At first glance, its gait seems clumsy and slow, but in the depths it finds its rhythm, and on the surface it takes advantage of the opportunity to regulate its body temperature after long dives. This animal has perfected its almost exclusive diet of jellyfish, which it detects thanks to its keen vision and its ability to move between thermoclines where these invertebrates congregate. Despite the venom in their tentacles, their thick skin and specialized digestive system allow them to consume large quantities without risk of death. In fact, they can ingest tens of kilos of jellyfish a day, compensating for the limited energy these animals provide with volume. It's not a solitary creature by choice, but by nature. It moves along the edges of schools and rarely groups with other members of its species. Even so, their relationship with jellyfish not only defines their diet, but also their daily routine. long journeys between the surface and the mesopelagic zones, following the movements of their prey. Just a few meters from these routes, and sometimes sharing the same schools of jellyfish, another creature roams the ocean with similar objectives. The leatherback sea turtle is the largest living sea turtle. Some specimens exceed 2 meters in length and weigh more than 600 kilos. Unlike its closest relatives, its shell is not hard or rigid, but is covered with thick, leathery skin, dotted with white spots on a dark grey background, which gives it invaluable flexibility to withstand the high pressures of the depths. Despite its heavy appearance and slow gait on land, it is a formidable swimmer in the water. It can descend to depths exceeding 1,000 meters and remain submerged for over an hour. Its elongated fins, without visible claws, function as powerful oars that propel it with surprising agility, even in turbulent waters. The leatherback turtle bases much of its diet on jellyfish, being one of the most important natural controllers of these populations in the ocean. Its mouth and throat are lined with spiny structures that prevent slippery prey from escaping once swallowed. Like the ocean sunfish, it has developed some immunity to stinging toxins, although the most exposed areas of its body, such as the eyes and mouth, remain vulnerable. For this reason, it usually approaches its prey from the upper part of the body, where the tentacles are shorter. Both species, although distinct in shape and lineage, share more than just their diet. They are tireless migrants. The ocean sunfish travels vast distances following areas with the highest concentration of jellyfish, while the leatherback sea turtle makes transoceanic journeys from nesting grounds on remote beaches to places where its prey is abundant. Their movements respond both to the search for food and to the water temperature, a factor that regulates their metabolism and determines the abundance of prey in each season. And while the most common image of the ocean sunfish is that of a placid giant floating near the surface, and that of the leatherback sea turtle is that of a solitary voyager in the open sea, both face the same challenges. Fishing nets, pollution, and the drastic alteration of jellyfish populations are forcing these species to modify their routes and routines. However, even today, on the vast blue plains of the Pacific, at dawn you can see certain silvery flashes and slow silhouettes emerging to catch their breath or regulate their temperature. Two giants from entirely different worlds, united by a shared dam and an ocean that still holds enough secrets for both of them. Thus, in this same setting where ancient giants cross paths without touching, other creatures of improbable shapes patrol the currents. Some, like the hammerhead shark, seem designed by capricious chance, although every feature of their bodies tells a story of efficiency and survival. Thus, in this same setting where ancient giants cross paths without touching, other creatures of improbable shapes patrol the currents. Some, like the hammerhead shark, seem designed by capricious chance, although every feature on their body tells a story of efficiency and survival. Its head, a strange and disproportionate rudder flattened at the sides and spread out like the wings of a manta ray, is not an evolutionary whim, but a lethal tool, honed over millions of years to turn it into a specialized hunter. Every dawn, when the light barely filters into the open areas of the eastern Pacific, hammerhead sharks congregate. Unlike their more solitary relatives, these large fish often form schools that can sometimes exceed 100 individuals. The reason for this behavior remains unclear, but everything suggests that schooling offers them crucial advantages. By swimming in masses, the chances of being attacked by larger predators, such as orcas or tiger sharks, decrease dramatically, and encounters between males and females become more likely, favoring genetic exchange. In turn, in these formations, the confusion they generate in schools of smaller fish facilitates the attack, disorganizing their prey. The hammer-shaped head gives it an unusually wide field of vision, and in addition houses along its lower edge hundreds of ampullae of Lorenzini, tiny receptors capable of detecting the slightest electrical discharges emitted by the fish when they move. Even if they remain hidden on the seabed, electroreceptor sense makes the hammerhead shark a specialist in hunting rays, a common resource in its diet along with bony fish, squid, and crustaceans. The hammerhead shark moves forward leisurely, just above the seafloor. Its pectoral fins brush the current and its head swings from side to side like a rudder exploring something the eyes can't grasp. There's no chase, no sudden movements, just a constant presence, seemingly merging with the shadows cast by the waves on the sand. Beneath that layer of sediment, a stingray remains motionless. Half buried, it blends in with the seafloor. Only its gills, which breathe in slow pulses, and a slight vibration in its tail betray its position. The strategy is absolute stealth, trusting that camouflage will be enough to avoid detection. Every swing of the shark's head searches for those imperceptible traces, minute electrical impulses, bioelectrical signals that betray even the most still prey. In this opaque and silent setting, any spark is enough to upset the balance. When he perceives one of these signals, he stops, just for a moment. The ray, still motionless, senses the nearby vibration but doesn't flee. The shark then makes a tight turn, taking advantage of the width of its head, which acts like a stabilizing fin in the middle of a curve. It lunges at its prey. It slams the sandy surface with controlled force, crushing the ray against the bottom. At that moment, the seabed shakes and a cloud of sediment rises around them both. Without wasting time, the lower jaw catches the prey that barely manages to move. Everything happens in a matter of seconds. But the stalking beforehand can last for minutes in an exchange of silent signals between predator and landscape, an unseen hunt in the dimness of the warm waters. In this same changing environment where it ambushes its prey, the hammerhead shark displays other facets of its adaptation. Although its size is impressive, its body is slender, adapted to fast and sustained swimming. They are capable of traveling long distances, alternating between surface waters and deeper areas, and some specimens have been recorded descending to more than 300 meters in search of food. Reproduction occurs ovoviviparously. After a gestation period of approximately 10 months, the female gives birth to live young that already display the distinctive hammer-like shape, albeit in smaller proportions. At birth, they seek refuge in coastal bays or lagoons, where large predators do not usually venture. There, young hammerhead sharks must learn to survive from day one, stalked by older fish and other sharks, including their own species. The waters of the Pacific are home to an extraordinary diversity of shapes and strategies. And while the hammerhead shark isn't the largest of its predators, it is one of the most unique. In every school of fish that crosses the current, nature seems to rehearse a different version of perfection. Remembering that in the ocean, the strange is almost always effective. That same liquid horizon houses other creatures that have chosen a different path. While some hunt by sight, others prefer stillness and invisibility. On the undulating surface of the Pacific, where light is fragmented into diffuse beams, rays live clinging to the seabed. They are inconspicuous creatures that have learned to blend into the sand, covering their flat bodies with a light layer of sediment. From there, they wait. They are patient predators, preferring stalking to open confrontation. Their pectoral fins, as broad as they are elegant, allow them to move without raising a cloud of dust, gliding across the seabed like living shadows. The day passes in this hypnotic lethargy, and it is only when some prey bursts into its vicinity that the ray comes to life. A quick flap of its wings, a whip of its tail, and the scene is over before it can be realized. Some species possess a poisonous sting, a lethal defense that they rarely use except when cornered. These creatures depend on their immediate surroundings. They blend in with the sand, feed in the same patches of seabed, and take refuge in crevices or depressions when larger predators like sharks or sea lions patrol the waters. His whole world unfolds in the low shadows of the ocean. But as the camera moves upward, the scene changes. The sand gives way to open water, where the blue becomes more transparent and suspended particles begin to glisten in the light. This is where the manta rays appear. Their colossal silhouettes cross the screen in perfect glide. They do not hide, they do not crouch. They float in vast, open spaces, confident in their size and speed. Oceanic manta rays can reach 7 meters in wingspan, a disproportionately large size for any fish. However, they do not hunt large prey, but rather feed on tiny plankton, which they filter while swimming with their mouths open, leaving behind columns of clean water. Every now and then, in the midst of calm, one of these giants breaks the surface and rises completely out of the sea. The swift, powerful leap has a noticeable sonic impact. This behavior appears to be used to rid the body of parasites or to be part of its social behavior. The sound of the body falling resonates far beyond the point of impact. Unlike their bottom-dwelling relatives, manta rays tend to gather at specific points in the ocean. There, cleaner fish come, nibbling at their skin to remove attached organisms. In these places, several manta rays circle around an invisible nucleus in a slow choreography that seems suspended in another time. The most remarkable thing about these creatures is their brain, the largest among fish. This capacity translates into complex behaviors. They form stable groups that are maintained over time, coordinate their movements through sound and gesture signals to optimize their search for food, and display playful and exploratory behaviors that reflect a curiosity uncommon in the marine world. Meanwhile, in the depths, the rays continue their stealthy routine, oblivious to the open world of manta rays. Both coexist in the same ocean, but in different worlds. One remains in the darkness of the seabed, the other navigates the luminous currents of the high seas. Two ways of inhabiting the Pacific, separated by meters of water, but by centuries of adaptation. Thus, the ocean continues to unfold its inhabitants with the naturalness of a never-repeating scenario, and each movement seems premeditated by an ancient and silent logic. As the manta rays disappear into the blue gloom of the open ocean, the scene changes. The sea leaves its great travelers behind to settle upon another of its silent and ancient inhabitants, corals and sponges. Almost motionless, they cover large portions of the seafloor in the warm waters of the Pacific, weaving structures that adorn the bottom and sustain life in these ecosystems. At first glance, they might look like colored stones or curious plant formations, but they are living beings, and their choice of stillness is not accidental. Over the millennia, both corals and sponges abandoned movement to become stationary sentinels, filtering tiny particles from the water or trapping microscopic plankton to survive. This slow, motionless lifestyle guarantees them constant energy without the risk of exposing themselves to the threats that plague other, more mobile animals. To protect themselves, they have developed subtle but effective methods. Some coral species have tiny, stinging tentacles capable of paralyzing small organisms, while other sponges secrete mild toxins that deter predators. However, they are not invulnerable. Parrotfish, sea turtles, and certain starfish feed on their tissues, shedding fragments that regenerate over time. Beyond their defenses, these organisms have built an indispensable relationship with reef fish. Dozens of species hide among their crevices and nooks, taking advantage of the irregular shapes and natural tunnels to protect themselves from predators. In return, the fish keep certain invertebrates that could smother corals and sponges at bay, and also facilitate the dispersion of particles by swimming near their surfaces. Here too, a millennia-old life cycle repeats itself. Some species, such as damselfish, lay their eggs among the corals where they are protected from currents and hunters. Even the popular clownfish find refuge among the anemones that inhabit these reefs, taking advantage of their stinging ability to stay safe from predators. But not all threats are easily dispelled. As the afternoon wears on and the temperature drops, a group of grey reef sharks begins patrolling the surrounding area. There are dozens of them, and their presence shakes the balance beneath the surface. The smaller fish, accustomed to these patrols, react without hesitation. In a matter of seconds, entire schools of coral dive between the coral structures and sponge folds, turning the reef into a living fortress. The sharks, although astute, know that their advantage dissolves here. Their bodies, too bulky to maneuver through the labyrinths of the reef, force them to wait for some distracted prey to venture into open water. But today, as so often before, the small strategy works. After a couple of failed attempts, the sharks retreat and calm is restored. It is then, when the danger fades, that the reef creatures emerge, resuming their unaltered routine. And in this back and forth between stalking and sheltering, corals and sponges continue to weave the foundations of an ecosystem that, from its apparent stillness, sustains thousands of lives in the waters of the Pacific. The waters calm as the distance from the reefs increases. The current becomes gentle, and the sunlight, filtered through the waves, casts glimmering shadows on the stalks of seaweed floating suspended in the gloom. Seahorses hide in almost invisible corners, small, fragile, and absolutely unique. They stand upright, supporting their curved body with a prehensile tail that clings firmly to submerged leaves and branches. They barely move. They are creatures of slow, calculated movement and can spend hours suspended in one place, swaying with the current. They feed on tiny crustaceans and fish larvae that they capture with their elongated snout, sucking in their prey in a sudden and precise gesture. But if there's one thing that distinguishes these fish, it's their way of perpetuating life, an unusual process that reflects an adaptation to increase the survival of offspring in a risky environment. In this species, it is the male who carries the burden of the offspring. The female deposits the eggs in a pouch located on her partner's abdomen, and he incubates them, protecting them from the dangers of the environment and ensuring a stable environment for their development while the female can continue producing new eggs. For several weeks, the male's every movement protects dozens of future offspring. At the end of gestation, in a dance that barely disturbs the surface, he releases his young into warm waters, and the tiny, exposed young begin an immediate fight for survival. Vulnerable to everything, their strategy is immobility and camouflage. The color and texture of their skin blend in with the seaweed, making them almost indistinguishable from their surroundings. Even so, they are frequent prey for larger fish and stealthy cephalopods that patrol these waters. Therefore, the survival of each individual is a silent feat. Seahorses live in pairs and often remain faithful to one partner throughout their lives. In an environment where alliances are breaking down and predators lurk at every turn, this consistency is almost unheard of. The day is fading, and as the shadows lengthen on the surface, a male seahorse frees itself from its young. Hundreds of tiny creatures scatter in the darkness, seeking refuge among the seaweed. It's an ancient act, repeated for centuries in this same corner of the Pacific, almost always unwitnessed. The Pacific Ocean, with its boundless vastness, has been the scene of encounters and pursuits, of births and farewells. Its deep abysses hold secrets that have remained intact since ancient times, while its surface waters are a refuge for countless life forms. In their domains, hammerhead sharks patrol in perfectly synchronized schools, while manta rays glide across the open ocean and jellyfish illuminate the darkness with a faint glow. Beneath the waves, seals chase elusive prey, coral reefs offer shelter to tiny fish, and seahorses perpetuate their species clinging to the stems on the seabed. Each creature, from the most imposing to the most fragile, occupies an irreplaceable place in this marine balance. A balance that is sustained despite changing currents, relentless predators, and threats that extend from the surface to the depths. In the heart of the Pacific, these routines are repeated day after day, stealthy, brutal, unexpected. Because the ocean, even when no one sees it, never stops moving. He never stops telling his story.